The sky over the rocky planet was dark, streaked with violent purple lightning that cracked across the clouds. A fierce storm raged, rattling the ground with each booming thunderclap. Somewhere high above, a sleek starship struggled against the tempest, sparks flying along its hull. Inside the cabin, the alien woman gripped the armrests, her eyes wide with fear. She was a diplomat, trained in negotiation and strategy, but no amount of intelligence could prepare her for this moment. The ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared, echoing throughout the cabin. She tried to reach the controls, but the ship spun violently, throwing her across the floor. Pain shot through her legs as they bent in ways they were never meant to bend. Her limbs refused to move. She realized with a sinking heart that something was terribly wrong. Metal screamed and groaned as the ship tumbled down toward the rocky surface. The alien woman's vision blurred, and she felt herself being thrown against a wall. The ship finally crashed with an ear-splitting roar, sending clouds of dust and fragments of rock into the stormy air. When the dust settled, silence reigned. The alien woman struggled to move, groaning in pain. She looked down at her legs. They were broken, twisted, and useless. A cold wave of fear washed over her. She was alone, trapped and helpless on a strange planet. Above her, the storm raged. Rain and hail pelted her body, chilling her to the bone. She tried to call out for help, her voice trembling. But her species' sounds were strange and unintelligible to most. Nearby, a small group of scavengers crept among the rocks. They had been drawn by the storm and the glowing wreckage of the ship. "Is anyone inside?" one asked, his tone careless. The alien woman tried to respond, but her voice came out as a series of sharp, strange cries. The scavengers exchanged confused glances. "She's barely alive," another said. "Leave her." "Nothing we can do." And with that, they walked away, disappearing into the shadows of the storm. The alien woman's heart sank. Alone, in agony, she realized that help would not come from them. She shivered in the cold, rain mixing with tears on her face. Far across the rocky plains, another figure moved. A human medic, part of a nearby exploration team, had been scanning the area for unusual energy readings. His sensors had picked up a faint life sign, almost drowned out by the storm's interference. Curiosity and a deep sense of duty drove him forward. He navigated the treacherous rocks carefully, his mind focused on reaching the signal. The human had trained for this. Storms, dangerous terrain, and emergencies were all part of his daily work. But even so, the storm tested him at every step. Lightning cracked close enough to make him jump, and the wind nearly knocked him off balance. Still, he pressed on, guided by the faint pulse of life from the alien woman. Finally, he saw her. She was lying amidst the wreckage, barely conscious, her legs bent in unnatural angles. Blood and rain mixed on her skin, and the human could see the sharp lines of pain etched across her face. Despite her alien appearance, her suffering was clear and human-like. He rushed to her side, his heart pounding. "Hey, can you hear me?" he called. The alien woman tried to respond, her strange cries barely audible over the storm. He knelt beside her, speaking calmly, moving slowly so as not to worsen her injuries. He inspected her legs. Both were shattered. Without immediate help, she could die from shock or infection. The human knew he had to act quickly. Drawing on his training, he began to improvise. Using parts of the wrecked ship and sturdy debris, he fashioned a temporary splint to stabilize her legs. It wasn't perfect, but it would prevent further damage until they could get to proper medical care. As he worked, the alien woman's large eyes studied him. At first, her expression was one of suspicion. Her species had always been cautious around humans, who were often unpredictable and reckless in their dealings. But as she watched him move with care, speak in calm tones, and avoid harming her, suspicion slowly shifted to curiosity. "You are human," she managed to say in her broken, strained voice. "I am," he replied, offering a faint smile. "And I'm here to help you. You're going to be okay." The alien woman tried to nod, but the movement caused a sharp pain through her legs. She clenched her teeth, wincing. Yet she could feel that this human was different from others she had encountered. There was determination in his movements, a calm strength in his voice, and an intelligence in his actions. Despite the storm, he worked steadily. He cleaned her wounds as best he could using antiseptic from his pack. Every motion was careful, precise. Each step required careful planning. One wrong move could cause her more pain or worsen her injuries. But he persisted, focused entirely on her well-being. The alien woman's fear began to ebb, replaced by a fragile sense of trust. She could see that this human was risking his life for hers. No one else had come. No one else had tried. And yet here he was, moving with patience, ingenuity, and courage. Hours seemed to pass. The storm did not relent, but eventually, the human had stabilized her enough to move her from the wreckage. He built a makeshift stretcher, supporting her upper body while her legs rested on the splints. With great care, he lifted her, his strength and endurance tested by the weight and the storm. As they moved, she watched him work. There was something remarkable about the way humans could adapt in impossible situations. He did not panic, did not hesitate. Even with limited tools and overwhelming danger, he solved problems with logic, creativity, and compassion. The alien woman had never seen such resilience. They stumbled across jagged rocks, climbed steep ridges, and dodged falling debris, but he never faltered. Every step, every decision, reinforced a single truth she had never fully understood. Humans were more than just brawn or technology. They were brave, clever, and willing to act when others would flee. Finally, they reached a sheltered area, protected from the storm's worst fury. The alien woman lay there, exhausted and shivering, as the human medic checked her injuries again. His hands were gentle, careful as he applied additional support to her splints. "You're safe now," he said. His voice was steady, reassuring. "We're going to get you proper help soon." For the first time in hours, she felt a flicker of hope. She tried to speak, but her voice was weak. Instead, she simply looked at him, her alien eyes reflecting a mix of gratitude and awe. In that moment, she realized something profound. She had encountered a human who embodied the very best of their species. Courage, intelligence, and compassion, and for the first time, she wondered what other qualities humans might have that she had never imagined. The storm continued outside, but in the small shelter there was a sense of calm. A fragile, tentative trust had formed between the human and the alien woman, and somewhere deep within her she felt a spark of hope. Perhaps she was not doomed to die alone on this desolate planet. Perhaps with this human by her side there was a chance to survive. As she drifted into a fitful sleep, still wary but less afraid, the human watched over her. He adjusted her splints, checked her breathing, and ensured that she was as comfortable as possible. His mind was already planning the next steps: how to get her to proper medical care, how to protect her from the dangers of the planet, and how to ensure she survived. For now, though, he simply stayed by her side because humans, he knew, did not give up on those in need, and somewhere, deep in the alien woman's mind, that realization began to change everything. The storm had begun to ease, though dark clouds still rolled across the sky and occasional lightning flickered in the distance. The alien woman lay on the makeshift stretcher, shivering from both the cold and pain. Her broken legs throbbed with every tiny movement, and her breaths came shallow and uneven. She could feel the bruises forming across her arms and back, reminders of the crash that had nearly ended her life. The human medic did not stop. Carefully, he adjusted her position on the stretcher, ensuring that her weight was distributed to avoid pressure on the broken bones. He spoke in a calm, steady tone. "I know this hurts," he said softly. "I can't take the pain away yet, but I can help keep it from getting worse." She blinked slowly, studying him. His voice was different from anyone she had met before. There was no fear, no hesitation, only focus and care. For a being from a species so advanced and proud, she had expected humans to be reckless, unpredictable. But this human was methodical, intelligent, and above all, compassionate. The medic scanned the area, looking for any threats. The storm had driven the scavengers away, but the rocky terrain was still dangerous. Jagged rocks could cut them. Unstable ground could tip the stretcher, and hidden wildlife could pose a threat. Every decision mattered. "Hold still," he said, gently tying the stretcher's straps around her to secure her upper body. Then he examined her legs again, feeling the shattered bones beneath the skin. His training kicked in. Using materials from the wreckage, he reinforced the splints he had made earlier. Small metal rods, pieces of the ship's interior panels, and strips of cloth became a stronger frame. It was crude but effective. The alien woman watched, fascinated. She had seen advanced medical technology on her planet and among other species. But here, with almost nothing, the human had created a solution that could save her life. She tried to speak, her voice strained and weak. "Why, helping?" she managed. The human smiled faintly, adjusting one of the splints. "Because it's the right thing to do," he said simply. "I can't leave someone to die if I can help them." She was silent, but the words echoed in her mind. Her culture often valued strength, power, and self-interest. Rarely had anyone acted purely out of compassion, and now she began to see humans differently. Perhaps they were not just survivors or warriors. They were capable of courage, empathy, and ingenuity all at once. The medic looked around again, planning the route to the nearest safe shelter. The storm had damaged much of the terrain, and climbing over the rocks would be treacherous. Still, he was confident. With care and patience, he could get her out safely. He lifted the stretcher, balancing it on his shoulders. Every step required precision. One wrong move, and her legs could be further injured. The alien woman gritted her teeth, pain shooting through her body with every jolt. Yet she trusted him, the first time she had trusted a human in her life. As they moved, she tried to speak again. "Name?" she whispered. The human paused, glancing down at her. "I'm Daniel," he said. "Daniel Reyes." She repeated the name slowly, practicing the sounds. "Daniel." She managed a faint smile. For the first time, she felt connected to someone on this strange, hostile planet. Daniel pressed on, navigating the rocky slopes. He used his knowledge of physics and balance to find the safest path. Every step was deliberate, calculated, and careful. He lowered the stretcher over sharp rocks with ropes he had fashioned from wires in his pack. Even the smallest misstep could have been fatal, but he moved with confidence. During brief moments of rest, he checked her condition. He cleaned small cuts, applied antiseptic, and adjusted the splints. She watched his movements, impressed by his attention to detail. Humans, she realized, were resilient not only in body but in mind. They could think, adapt, and act in ways that other species might not. Hours passed. The storm gradually weakened, leaving behind a cold drizzle and a fog that hung over the rocky landscape. Visibility was low and the ground remained dangerous. But Daniel was unwavering. He carried the alien woman over narrow ridges, across unstable boulders, and through shallow streams that could have easily swept them away. At one point, a jagged rock shifted beneath them, and the stretcher tilted dangerously. The alien woman's heart raced as Daniel adjusted his grip, leaning his weight to counterbalance. "Almost there," he said, gritting his teeth as he struggled to maintain control. She tried to speak again, but her voice was barely audible. Instead, she reached out, her hand brushing his arm. It was a small gesture, but it carried a deep meaning. In that moment, she conveyed gratitude, trust, and acknowledgement of his skill. Daniel noticed the gesture and gave a small nod, understanding her silent words. Night began to fall. The temperature dropped and the cold seeped into their bones. Yet Daniel did not stop. He had prepared a lightweight blanket from his pack and wrapped her in it, offering warmth. "You need to conserve energy," he said. "We're almost at a safe place." The alien woman shivered but felt a spark of hope. She realized that despite her severe injuries, she might survive this ordeal. Not because of luck, not because of technology, but because of a human's courage, ingenuity, and relentless determination. As they continued, Daniel kept talking, not to fill silence, but to keep her calm. He described the path, the terrain, and even shared small stories of human life, how they worked together, explored, and helped each other. The alien woman listened, fascinated. She had never heard such perspectives before. Humans were not just clever or strong. They were compassionate, cooperative, and capable of acts that transcended survival. Finally, after what felt like endless hours, they reached a sheltered cave, protected from the wind and rain. Daniel laid the stretcher down carefully, checking her condition once more. She was exhausted, shivering, but alive. Her breathing had slowed, and the worst of the immediate danger had passed. Daniel worked quickly to set up a small camp. Using supplies from his pack, he built a makeshift bedding area and wrapped her in dry cloth. He mixed a small emergency nutrient gel, ensuring she had energy without putting strain on her body. "You're safe here," he said. "Rest, I'll stay with you." For the first time since the crash, the alien woman felt a sense of relief. Her mind, still foggy with pain, began to grasp the reality. She had survived because of this human, not because of her own strength or skill, but because he had chosen to act, to think, and to care when others would have left her. She tried to speak again, her voice weak but clear enough this time. "Why risk?" Daniel smiled softly. "Because humans don't leave others to die if we can help. It's who we are. You're alive because someone chose to do the right thing even when it was hard." Her large eyes studied him, filled with a mix of awe and something new: trust. In her culture, trust was earned through status, knowledge, or power. Yet here, on this desolate planet, she felt it for someone who had acted without expectation, simply out of compassion and courage. The night deepened, and the storm fully subsided. The alien woman closed her eyes, still wary but less afraid. Daniel remained awake, keeping watch. Every so often he checked the splints, adjusted the blanket, and ensured she was stable. Even as exhaustion threatened to claim him, he stayed vigilant. Somewhere deep inside her, a spark of hope began to grow. She had survived the crash. She had survived the storm. And she had survived because a human had risked everything to save her. For the first time, she realized that humans were not just survivors. They were heroes in their own way, capable of bravery, ingenuity, and compassion beyond measure. As she drifted into a fitful, pain-filled sleep, she held on to that thought. Perhaps, after all, there was more to humans than she had ever imagined. Perhaps they were not just a simple species trying to survive. They were capable of greatness. And somewhere, deep within the cave, Daniel stayed by her side, ready to continue the rescue when the morning light returned, because he understood one simple truth: helping another life, no matter how different or alien, was never a choice, it was a duty. The first light of dawn crept across the rocky horizon, casting pale shadows over the jagged terrain. The storm had passed, leaving the world wet, slippery, and treacherous. The alien woman stirred on the makeshift bedding, wincing as pain shot through her broken legs. She had spent the night in a haze of discomfort and fever, but she was alive. That in itself was a miracle, and she could feel it deep in her core. Daniel checked the splints one last time before lifting her onto the stretcher. "We have to keep moving," he said. "The nearest human outpost isn't far, but the terrain is dangerous." "I'll get you there." The alien woman looked at him, her large eyes still filled with awe. "You continue? Risk again?" she asked. He gave a small nod. "I'm not leaving you here. You're alive because someone chose to act. I'm that someone." She remained silent for a moment, then gave a faint nod. Words were not enough to express her trust and gratitude. She had come to understand something profound about humans. They were courageous, resourceful, and compassionate in ways that transcended species, culture, or technology. They set off slowly. Daniel adjusted the stretcher, using ropes to stabilize it, and carefully stepped over slick rocks and uneven ground. Each movement required attention. One misstep could topple the stretcher or worsen her injuries. Yet he moved with a calm precision, guided by experience, instinct, and intelligence. The alien woman watched him, amazed at his endurance. Humans were not large or powerful like some of her own people, but they compensated with clever thinking, stamina, and adaptability. Daniel's every move spoke of those qualities. The journey was difficult. The terrain rose and fell sharply, with narrow ridges and loose boulders that threatened to collapse. At one point, a section of rock crumbled beneath their feet. Daniel quickly shifted his weight and used his improvised harness system to prevent a fall. The alien woman gasped, her body trembling from fear and pain, but he reassured her. "It's okay. We're fine. Just trust me." She did. She had no other choice, but slowly that trust became genuine. She began to see humans not as simple or reckless, but as beings capable of great endurance and ingenuity. Along the way, Daniel kept a careful eye on the sky and the surrounding terrain. Predatory creatures, though rare, were known to inhabit the planet. Even small animals could be dangerous when cornered. The alien woman flinched as a shadow moved past them, a large bird-like creature, but Daniel shielded her with his body and kept moving. His quick thinking and courage saved them both. During a brief rest, Daniel sat beside her. He offered a small ration, a nutrient gel, knowing she needed energy but could not eat much. She accepted it reluctantly, still wary of humans, but willing to trust him now. "You, human, strong," she said softly, attempting the words in her broken language. Daniel smiled faintly. "Strong?" he asked. "I'm not that strong. I just keep trying, and I never give up." She studied him carefully. There was truth in his words. Humans did not always rely on brute strength. They relied on persistence, courage, and clever thinking. He had risked his life for her again and again, using every skill he had. That mattered more than raw power. They continued, and as the day progressed, the alien woman began to share fragments of her life. She told Daniel about her people's culture, their advanced technology and the importance of her mission as a diplomat. Her words were slow and measured as speaking caused pain, but Daniel listened attentively. Life, precious, she said at one point. We do not often see such care. Daniel nodded. Every life is worth saving, no matter who it is. The alien woman considered this. On her world, many species and governments valued power and survival over compassion. Yet here was a human, risking everything to ensure she survived. The realization unsettled her in a good way. She began to see that humanity had qualities her species often overlooked: empathy, bravery, and creativity in solving problems. The afternoon sun climbed higher, turning the wet rocks into slick, dangerous surfaces. A narrow gorge blocked their path with jagged rocks below. Daniel examined it carefully. We'll have to go slowly, he said. I can carry you, but we need balance and focus. He stepped onto the narrow ledge, carrying the stretcher with both hands. The alien woman felt every jolt, every shift in weight, but Daniel adjusted with incredible precision. At one point, a loose stone tumbled down the gorge. Daniel caught it with his foot before it could dislodge him or the stretcher. The alien woman's eyes widened in awe. She had never seen such skill. You, clever, she said quietly. I have to be, Daniel replied. Every move matters. One mistake and we both could fall. Hours passed and the landscape slowly changed. The rocky terrain gave way to a plateau, and in the distance she could see a faint glow, signs of a human outpost. Relief filled her chest, but pain still dominated her body. Her broken legs throbbed relentlessly, and exhaustion weighed on her. Daniel noticed her discomfort and adjusted her position again. Almost there, he said. Stay with me. We're almost at safety. The alien woman tried to nod, but the movement sent sharp pain through her legs. She clenched her teeth and whispered, "Thank. Human, strong, brave." Daniel smiled faintly, his focus unwavering. You don't have to thank me. I'm just doing what anyone should do. But she knew it was more than that. She had witnessed humans acting where others might hesitate or flee. She had seen ingenuity, courage, and compassion all in one being. Daniel's actions were extraordinary, even among humans, and she felt a deep sense of gratitude. As they neared the outpost, they encountered one final obstacle, a narrow ledge with a steep drop on one side. A strong wind gusted across the plateau, threatening to push them off balance. Daniel paused, assessing the situation. This is the last part, he said. I need you to hold on tight. The alien woman gripped the stretcher straps, bracing herself. Daniel adjusted his footing, leaning his weight to counter the wind. Step by step, he moved along the ledge, careful to keep the stretcher steady. Every movement was precise, deliberate, and calculated. Finally, they reached solid ground. Daniel exhaled, relief flooding through him. The alien woman looked around, taking in the sight of the human outpost. Lights glimmered in the distance, and she could see other humans moving about, going about their duties. You safe, she asked, her voice trembling but filled with hope. Yes, Daniel said. You're safe now. The alien woman closed her eyes, letting herself relax for the first time in what felt like forever. She had survived the crash, the storm, and the treacherous journey across the planet. She had survived because of a human, a being who had shown her courage, ingenuity, and compassion when no one else would. As night fell, Daniel led her toward the outpost gates. The other humans paused, staring at the alien woman. She was an unusual sight, her appearance unlike anything they had seen before. Yet Daniel's calm presence reassured them. They moved aside, allowing him to bring her inside. Inside the outpost, she was carefully transferred to a medical bay. Advanced equipment hummed and beeped around her, but Daniel stayed close. He ensured that the doctors understood her injuries and had everything they needed to stabilize her fully. You did well, one doctor said, looking at Daniel with admiration. Daniel shook his head. I only did what needed to be done. She's alive. That's what matters. The alien woman watched him, feeling a mix of relief and awe. She had learned something important about humans during this journey. They were not just clever or strong. They were brave, resourceful, and capable of extraordinary acts of kindness. And in Daniel, she had found the very best of what humanity could offer. As she drifted into sleep, finally free from immediate danger, she felt a sense of hope she had never known. Perhaps there was a future for her yet. Perhaps humans were not just a species to observe from afar. They were beings capable of inspiring trust, hope, and even admiration. And somewhere in the quiet hum of the medical bay, Daniel stayed by her side, ready to ensure she survived the night and began the next stage of recovery. Because he understood that saving a life was not just an action, it was a responsibility. A choice and a testament to the extraordinary qualities that made humans truly remarkable. The hum of the medical bay was steady and comforting. Machines monitored the alien woman's vitals, soft lights casting gentle glows across the room. Daniel stood nearby, watching carefully as the doctors worked to repair her shattered legs. Advanced human medical technology, combined with Daniel's field stabilization, had given her a chance that few would have survived. The alien woman stirred, blinking against the soft light. She felt the unfamiliar sensation of strength returning to her legs. Pain remained, but it was manageable now. The doctors had used sophisticated techniques to realign the bones, repair tissue damage, and prevent infection. Slowly, carefully, she flexed her toes, testing her mobility. "You, human, heal?" she asked, her voice weak but full of wonder. Daniel smiled faintly. "Yes, humans can do a lot with knowledge, care, and a little creativity. You're going to walk again." She looked at him, astonishment in her eyes. She had known humans were clever, but this was beyond what she could have imagined. Here on a distant planet with a species so different from her own, a human had saved her life twice. First by rescuing her from the wreckage and storm, then by ensuring her full recovery. The alien woman's thoughts drifted to her own people. On her world, medicine was advanced, but it often prioritized status, research, or resources over compassion. Humans were different. Daniel had acted purely out of care, risked his life for someone he barely knew, and never hesitated when faced with danger. She realized that these qualities, empathy, courage, and ingenuity, were what made humans remarkable. As she recovered over the next few days, the alien woman began to walk again, first with assistance, then slowly on her own. Each step was careful, deliberate, a reminder of how fragile life could be and how valuable human determination was. Daniel stayed with her, offering encouragement, adjusting her support, and ensuring she did not overexert herself. "You trust human," she said quietly one morning, as she tested her balance. Daniel nodded. "I hope so. Humans can be brave and kind, but trust is earned. You've seen it, you've lived it." She considered his words. She had lived moments of fear, pain, and uncertainty, and in every one, he had acted with precision, intelligence, and care. The bond they had formed was not based on friendship alone, but on shared struggle, mutual respect, and the recognition of human qualities she had never fully understood. The doctors were amazed at her resilience. Alien physiology was complex and her injuries were severe. Yet her determination, combined with Daniel's timely intervention, had allowed her to survive and recover faster than expected. "You're extraordinary," one doctor told her. "Few could have endured what you did." She looked at Daniel, her eyes reflecting a mixture of awe and gratitude. "No, human, extraordinary. Save me. Twice." Daniel shook his head. "I just did what anyone should do. You're alive. That's what matters." Despite his humility, she understood something profound. This human embodied the best of his species: courage, ingenuity, compassion, and determination. He had risked his life for hers, and in doing so, had shown her that humans were capable of heroism in ways that transcended technology or strength. As the days passed, the alien woman regained her strength. She began to move confidently, exploring the medical bay and even venturing outside under supervision. The human outpost staff were fascinated by her, but Daniel's calm presence ensured she felt safe. She began to teach them small gestures from her culture, sharing knowledge of her world and showing the humans that cooperation could bridge even the greatest differences. One afternoon, as she walked slowly across the courtyard, she paused to look at Daniel. "You human, not only strong, clever, also care, save life, because..." "Right." Daniel nodded, smiling. "That's what humans do. We help when we can. That's how we survive, and that's how we live. She considered this deeply. Her people often valued power, politics, or influence above all else. Yet here was a human who had acted purely out of principle. Compassion and courage were his guiding forces, and she realized that these qualities were what made humanity unique and special. Eventually, the alien woman was ready to return to her people. She moved with confidence now, her legs fully functional and her mind alert. She had survived impossible circumstances, faced danger and pain, and learned something invaluable about humans. Before leaving, she turned to Daniel. "You human taught me, not all same, some great, brave, clever. Save life." Daniel smiled. "I'm glad I could help, and I hope your people see it too, that humans are worth trusting." The alien woman nodded. She had never felt this level of gratitude or respect for another species. She realized that the future of interspecies relations could depend on individuals like Daniel, humans who were willing to act, to care, and to risk everything to do what was right. As she prepared to depart, the outpost staff gathered to witness the moment. They had seen her survival, her recovery, and the remarkable courage of the human medic who had saved her. Even among humans, Daniel's actions were extraordinary, calm, under pressure, resourceful in danger, and selfless in purpose. The alien woman paused one last time to look at him. "You, human, not forget. Your help, change, view." Daniel nodded. "I'll remember you too. You fought to survive. That matters more than anything." With that, she departed for her people's transport vessel, ready to return to her homeworld. Her heart was lighter than it had been since the crash, filled with hope and a renewed belief in the possibilities of cooperation and understanding between species. She had seen humanity at its best, courageous, ingenious, compassionate, and she would carry that lesson home. As the transport vessel lifted off, Daniel watched her leave. He felt satisfaction, not for fame or recognition, but for doing the right thing. In the galaxy, many dangers and hardships existed, but humans had proven, through small and brave acts, that they were capable of extraordinary heroism. For the alien woman, this experience would never be forgotten. She had survived impossible odds, healed from devastating injuries, and learned a truth she could share with her people. Humans were not just clever or strong. They were capable of remarkable courage, ingenuity, and compassion that could save lives and inspire trust. As the sun set on the rocky planet, Daniel returned to the outpost, quietly tending to other duties, but carrying with him the knowledge that he had made a difference. One life had been saved, and in doing so, he had shown what it meant to be human, resilient, inventive, and willing to act when it mattered most. And somewhere among the stars, the alien woman traveled home, her thoughts filled with hope and admiration. Humanity, she realized, was a species unlike any other, a species capable of greatness, capable of changing lives, and capable of inspiring even the most cautious and powerful civilizations to see the value of courage, compassion, and ingenuity. Because of one human medic, she had survived. And because of that survival, the galaxy had learned a small, important truth. Humans were extraordinary in ways that could not be measured by technology, size, or strength, but by the choices they made when faced with danger, pain, and the lives of others. And in that realization, a new chapter of interstellar trust and understanding had quietly begun.